Welcome and thank you so much for joining us. This is our first episode of the Financial and Fiscal Commission's new podcast called Fiscal Matters. This is going to be a podcast where we share knowledge, we educate each other, we talk all things fiscal, we talk all things financial, and we also unpack many of the issues that inform our economy in South Africa. Recently, the Minister of Finance tabled Budget 2024. And as the Financial and Fiscal Commission, one of our key mandates is to also provide a very informed and independent analysis of the budget to the oversight authorities. Yesterday, we went to Parliament as the Financial and Fiscal Commission and we unpacked the budget. And with us now to take us into some of the key discussion items, I'm joined by the Head of Research for the Financial and Fiscal Commission, Mr. Chan Wei Tsang. Welcome, Mr. Tsang. So Chan, tell us, the Budget 2024 in the context of 30 years of our democracy as South Africa. How far have we come in terms of informing government on the budget process?
Yes, so it has indeed been 30 years, together with the transition to a democratic South Africa, the Financial and Fiscal Commission, both which featured in terms of the interim constitutional order as it was established in 1993. And since then, over the 30 years, FFC has been fulfilling its constitutional mandate in looking at financial and fiscal matters on behalf of the people of South Africa, and to provide guidance, recommendations to the legislature, and to ultimately inform the public on the fiscal flows and the fiscal policy matters, where are we putting the money, how we are spending the money, and whether the spending of the money indeed did give us the public service goods and delivery that people of South Africa deserves.
That's very interesting. So if we have to look back in the early stages, in the early years, how big was the fiscal purse in 1993 or 1994 compared to what it is now? How has the public finances, how have they grown over time? And have we seen value in that spending?
Back in 1990, the 1994 budget that was tabled was either between closer to the mid-year, June, April then, it was 89 billion South African rands in terms of revenue, and that 30 years on, today, of course, we're looking at 1.8 trillion.
Sure.
And spending-wise, back then, we were spending 114 billion South African rands, and today we're spending over 2 trillion. So that is a significant, obviously, in terms of the quantum, in nominal values, we call it, that has grown over the 30 years. And whether that's that nominal transition or evolution or even expansion, and this is where almost policymakers and economists like to talk about whether it has or has not been expansionary fiscal policy over the time. But I think indeed on the nominal terms, no matter how one justifies it from one way or another, inflation or non-inflation adjusted, there is definitely a significant increase from then till now. The inputs of resources. The question again that is still outstanding is all that fiscal injections, fiscal inputs, resource inputs, and spending, expenditures have translated into actual real goods service and public value to the people of South Africa.
That's interesting because in your view, in the last 3 years, what has been government's fiscal stance in terms of its policy? We've heard about fiscal consolidation. What does that mean, really? What is that?
Yeah, so over the 30 years, and of course it's a learning process as well. And earlier you asked about the evolution of our fiscal policy. In essence, it's a learning curve, constant learning curve, depending on the macro and external and internal economic movements. And of course, during the last 30 years, we've been through the Asian financial crisis or Asian crisis around the 2001 and 2. There's the 2008-9 financial crisis that originated through the Americans' mortgage markets. And then more recently, of course, the COVID. Throughout it all, there has always been a back and forth regarding trade sanctions, war, conflicts, and in the war, terrorism, and so forth. And so our stance, it's indeed rather a sophisticated and convoluted matter. It can't be said that at a particular interval there was definitively an expansionary or a consolidatory, contractionary fiscal stance, because again it's just various factors that influence that decision and on particular items within the budgets.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we hear that we have ballooning debt, that government now must actually tighten the belt, because we cannot just have an open book and just spend, because it has implications in terms of service delivery. So have government departments abided by that mandate not to spend willy-nilly?
I think one does have to recognize first, or at least define what can government do, and also seeing what's kind of lever translating into actual outcome. Because governments, from the, say, treasury perspective, or general sort of the government perspective, first thing that they can control is the budget.
Yes.
But budget is not real money. It's not cash. It's just estimates of that expenditure to come.
Yes.
Or to be spent.
Yeah.
So that's one lever. Then there is the actual implementation and execution of the budgets. That is where it's closer to the to the what can the government do. Then of course there's a third layer, which is kind of the outcome of it. Is that fine, we spent 100 million rand worth of something, but are we getting that value for that in terms of the outcome? So in all these layers, government has done the first layer, obviously, in terms of setting the budget, in terms of setting the expenditure ceiling, and alerting, staying very much alive to the increasing debt crisis. The second, on the expenditure, yes, it varies across different sectors of governments. For instance, national departments and constitutional institutions and provinces and local governments, I'd say it's relatively successful in terms of reining in the expenditures. However, SOEs has actually become the problem for in terms of trying or abiding by that expenditure ceiling, and of course provinces with the cost of employment, employees. Has not been able to really rein in that expenditure side. So again, it's various aspects of this expansion control or this expenditure control.
Right. And quite clearly then, government is trying to dig itself out of that hole, and this belt tightening is not as effective as they would want it to be, and so now they have tapped into our reserves.
Yes.
And the FFC has strong views on that, which have been highly publicized in the media. So what are the FFC's views in terms of government tapping into our foreign reserves and the implications thereof?
Yes. So we are cautioning strongly about its consequences of drawing down on such a foreign reserve, because for this JFECRA, or the gold foreign exchange accounts, reserve accounts, essentially is a crucial buffer against volatilities, external and internal influences and or uncertain volatilities against our rand, the medium of exchange that we use as a country. What that means is that or drawing down on it means that if today, should there be any, for whatever reason, there is a depreciation or even sometimes even appreciation of it on the rand, government can't is losing that strength of hand to intervene, to smoothen that or moderate that impact. So it is drawing down on such a reserve is essentially we are risking more on our abilities and as a strategic position to intervene or to moderate some of the external impacts. And unfortunately, in the current economic climate, with the wars, the tensions between countries in terms of trade, sanctions, and various other, just the spreading of uncertainty and fear of war between world countries. It's not advisable. It's not advisable at this moment to be particularly drawing down on our reserves.
So you think that the geopolitical factors are still going to impact our economy for quite some time? What does that mean for the consumer?
Yeah, almost constant in terms of these kind of impacts, because trade terms, how one country invest or not invest in another country, and also land and we borrow, and significantly we're borrowing more and more. All the pass-through effects of these influences are going to be more emphasized and more exaggerated, and in real terms. So the impact is going to be particularly more and more significant, and hence it's at this moment in time, South Africa should not be risking on weakening its strategic position.
So finally, your view on the Minister of Finance's tabled budget in the context of all these, these challenges and complexities that you have unpacked. Do you think the budget is credible in the medium term? Can all the promises that he has made and all the plans that he has put on the table, are those feasible?
So I think it's feasible, albeit with quite a few weaknesses. And these weaknesses sit in between what the Minister of Finance can do and also what the government as a whole should do on behalf of the people of South Africa. And those are the weaknesses such as the structural weaknesses in the SOEs, and these are not just SOEs of maybe shall we say, front-end delivery or fundamental functions of the economy. We're talking electricity, power, literally the factors that's driving the economic growth or enables economic growth, and also water logistics, that is the Transnet. So these weaknesses, structural as they are, and that despite some efforts in terms of ministers' budgets trying to address those issues, but the challenge is always being that a monetary solution does not necessarily result in structural solutions for these structural problems. The two is it's sometimes necessary, but not sufficient.
Right.
A condition for these for these results.
So then the underlying issue then is for government to address the structural problems rather than deal with the symptoms, in a way.
Yes. So as FFC, we've been recommending to dispose these redundant or literally assets that don't add value, that are not value add. The reason why they sit in books is probably only some valuations that was done a long time ago and done incorrectly. And what that means is also that these assets sitting on the books sometimes does blur the vision and the mission of an organization, of any organization, as they do become almost burdens, a fog into the financial status of the balance sheet of the company. So, for instance, if say I'm running a company and then I have this on the books 2 billion rands worth of furniture, but actually these furnitures are either broken, not used, stored somewhere. On the books, I will look pretty good on the asset front, but actually these assets are non-value adding at all. And not only that, it probably misrepresents to my shareholders thinking that I have these assets, whereas actually these assets might as well be zero.
Well, there you have it. An analysis of the budget from the Financial and Fiscal Commission. We've had the head of research who has been very eloquent in explaining to us the underlying issues of our economy and the fact that drawing on the reserves is not the total solution. We need to actually address the structural problems in our country. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope again you will tune in and listen to more in-depth discussion on fiscal policy and financial and fiscal matters. Thank you so much.